I want you all to know that this is not meant to be a judgment on this series as a whole or meant to compare it to the later installments. I think it's pretty clear that the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series was a product of its time, when action-adventure cartoons were goofier and more lighthearted. And yet they still delivered on the action better than certain other things out today. However, even within that context, this series definitely had episodes that even back then, you had to shake your head and wonder what the hell they were thinking with this. And oh boy, have we got a big one here. Raphael versus the Volcano. Now first off, this episode is a direct ripoff of a 1990 movie titled Joe versus the Volcano, which I think Tom Hanks took off his resume sometime after he starred in Philadelphia. And no, it's not just a cheap play on the title. They pretty much steal the basic storyline. The episode opens with Donatello having completed his newest invention, a healthometer that measures people's health conditions.
But remember, no machine will ever replace the healing powers of a caring, sympathetic physician.
I know. That's my next invention.
Yeah, go ahead and take away the jobs of millions of hard-working doctors, you heartless douche. Then we immediately cut to Channel 6, where Byrne is handing out news assignments to April and Vernon.
Vernon, I'm sending you to the island of Papalua. The famous top of Papalua volcano is about to erupt.
Erupt?
What's my dangerously exciting assignment?
Right, April. You're covering the story at the Botanical Gardens.
Byrne, are you actively trying to sabotage your own news organization? Seriously, what are you thinking here? You know that April is the gung-ho reporter who wants to put her own life in danger for a story 3 times before breakfast, while Vernon is a spineless coward that would turn and run away from a spider shadow. The only logic for this is either he's punishing April for all the times she was right and he was wrong about the turtles, or he's actively trying to get Vernon killed. And knowing Bert Thompson, I believe either one of those.
What if Vernon and I switched assignments?
Oh, could we, Chief? That would make me happy.
Forget it! I'm paying you to work, not to be happy.
What I'm doing is stupid, I know that it's stupid, but I'm gonna do it anyway! So now back to the sewers, where the other 3 turtles reluctantly agree to test Donatello's healthometer. Leonardo and Michelangelo pass with flying colors, and then Raphael finally gives in to testing.
Adios, amigo? Come on, that's ridiculous.
I don't understand it. There's no way the healthometer can be wrong.
Yeah? Well, I think I'd like a second opinion. I'd say you just got it.
Might that be a sign that maybe something is wrong with the machine? I mean, one of the running gags in this show is that Donatello's inventions have a tendency to not work. And if there's one person who would remember that and thus question its reliability, it would be the sarcastic one. Especially since it gave him such a poor reading, but a clean bill of health to Michelangelo. You know, the turtle most known for sitting on his shell eating pizza all the time. But no, Raphael immediately takes it at face value. We're not even 4 minutes in, and we've had 2 characters act in ways that make no sense in order for the plot to move forward. I don't even think a season 6 episode of SpongeBob would do that. So while Vernon is on the island of Papalua thinking a raincoat and umbrella will protect him from flaming debris, no, I'm not complaining, that's pretty much in character for Vernon, we move to April's coverage of the botany exhibit, where we meet Professor Wilhelm Benilli. And yes, he's our villain, because this was when the series aired 2 episodes on Saturday morning. One featuring the turtles battling Shredder and Krang, and another where they face some one-shot foe that the writers thought up after eating magic mushrooms.
How dare you name that lily after yourself? I, Professor Wilhelm Benilli, am the one who spent years cultivating it. It should be named after me.
Well, I know, Professor, but the Willy Benilli Lily, it sounds so silly.
Ha ha! Get it? They're making fun of Milli Vanilli. That joke will never be dated. Back to Raphael, still acting completely out of character, as he's telling himself Donatello's invention has to be wrong, but saying it like he's in denial rather than actually being skeptical. And then he begins believing he actually is sick from feeling the effects of dripping water and heat coming from out of storm vents, because somehow he wouldn't be used to that from living in a sewer. And then he overhears Mikey crying over Don telling him the oven is finished, and he assumes they are talking about him.
Since my life is over anyway, I'm gonna devote what's left of it to making this whole world a better place to live in. And to heck with the risks!
Raphael, I really hope I'm not being intrusive on asking this question, but What the hell were you doing for all of these years before then? I get that the point of this story is that Raphael is supposedly risking his life more than usual because he believes he has nothing to lose. But putting on a costume that looks even dumber than the musketeer suits they all wore in a previous episode, and now calling yourself the Green Defender, doesn't make you look like a guy trying to make the world a better place. You look like you're going to MagFest, not rushing into a building full of dynamite to put out a fire by, I am not kidding about this, somehow using hot air to fly up to the sprinklers and turn them on.
Good thing I remembered that heat makes things rise.
Yeah, if it worked like that, Zeus Service and Wellesley Wild would float up into space from all the hot air in their heads. Meanwhile, Donatello finally discovers that, sure enough, there was something wrong with the healthometer. In other breaking news, the G3 My Little Pony specials will cause diabetes. Meanwhile, Professor Benilli, yeah, he's still in this thing, arrives at Papalua and reveals his plan to the world.
I, Professor Willie Benilli, have just dropped a canister of deadly chemicals into the top of Papalua Volcano. Now, when it erupts, it will spread a highly toxic fume all over the globe. And then, my friends, every shred of vegetation on the surface of the earth will shrivel and die. I'm talking trees, I'm talking flowers, and yes, even broccoli.
You are going to kill off all plant life on Earth, which in turn will lead to the death of all life on Earth, period, including you, because you didn't get a flower named after you. Seriously, this guy is trying to induce genocide. Not even Shredder and Krang ever tried that, because they at least wanted people to rule over. By the way, do you know what type of eruption it would take to spread that poison all over the globe? When Mount St. Helens blew in 1980, its ash cloud spread out to roughly a fifth of the United States. It would take a blast greater than Krakatoa to create a cloud that would affect that much of the Earth. And that eruption destroyed that entire island and rained fiery death on people 3,000 miles away. So unless this thing is going to cause a blast that will kill people within the radius of North America and lead to tidal waves that will level the East Coast, your plan is going to fail miserably. This drives Byrne to finally send April to Papalua to cover the story, just as Raphael has taken the turtle blimp to the island to stop Benilli, leaving the other turtles to have to hitch a ride with April to the island. Yeah, this is basically the only reason the writers had Vernon be assigned to the Volcano story, so April could still be there to give the turtles a lift when they needed it. They find Raph climbing down into the top of Papalua crater, and you know what? This is another trope that just flat out needs to die. This cliche type of volcano, big tall mountain with huge hole containing giant lake of lava, could not really exist, let alone be a threat to erupt like they always do. The lava on the surface will always eventually cool and harden into rock, capping off the mountain until enough pressure builds up in the mountain, causing the lava and ash to burst through. No cap on the mountain means no pressure, means no big boom. Ugh, whatever. The other turtles arrive just in time to tell Raphael he's in fine health, which now suddenly gets him concerned about getting cooked in lava, which of course almost happens, if not for his brothers, who maybe could have waited until after they got him to safety to tell him that. They stop Professor Benilli, the volcano erupts without somehow creating those tidal waves that would cause mass devastation in New York. And the episode ends with Raphael smashing Don's healthometer. Wish I could do the same thing for this episode's script. This thing, it honestly makes me think like they were really running out of ideas for the show, and they weren't even doing a full season's worth of episodes at the time this one arrived. Maybe these writers should have just stuck to stories featuring Shredder and Krang. I mean, there's no way they could have made any of those stupid.
I plan to cut the chain, and all my competition will just go floating away. And I alone will be the boss of the entire underworld.
Ah!